Welcome back, everyone. This is Red Spotlight, episode number 318. I'm your host today, Alexis J. Soto, joined by Mr. David Francisco. David, how are you doing today?
Good.
It's the end of April. Can you believe that we're already at the end of April? It's crazy. And as with the end of April, we have the final installment of our recap series of the Disney Plus Marvel series, Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Last episode of this recap series, we discussed episode 5, titled Truth. And today we're discussing the season/series finale of Falcon and the Winter Soldier, titled One World, One People. And yeah, hope you stick around. We got plenty of stuff to discuss. We're going to give you our takes of the episode, our initial impressions. We'll recap it as it happened in sequence, and as we usually have, a bunch of takes from interesting people all over the internet as to how they received this episode. But before we get into the episode itself and what we thought of it, there was some pretty big news that was broke literally, I think, hours or the day of the episode dropping on Disney Plus, and that is that Marvel Studios is developing a Captain America 4, currently in the works, with the showrunner Malcolm Spellman of this series, Falcon and the Winter Soldier. This breaking from The Hollywood Reporter. As they say, the head writer and creator of the Disney Plus and Marvel television series, The Falcon and the Winter Soldier, and in case I stuttered, it is a television series. There is this really irrational and psychotic group of thought out there that this is a movie. It is not. It is a television show. It is being submitted for the Emmy Awards by Kevin Feige himself. If you are one of those sycophants that listens to every single thing that Kevin Feige says, well, he submitted into an Emmys. He considers this a TV show, not a movie. And by the way, it ain't gonna win anything, so get rid of those arguments there. As I was saying, the head writer and creator of the Disney Plus series, Falcon and the Winter Soldier, is developing a fourth installment of the Captain America film franchise for Marvel Studios. Spellman will co-write the script with Dallin Musin, who's also been a writer for this series. This is news that was kind of out of left field. As Palpatine would say, a surprise to be sure, but a welcome one. I think that's kind of what I'm paraphrasing what he says in The Phantom Menace once he is elected the Supreme Chancellor, or one of those finalized candidates. But it is kind of a question maybe you would have asked yourself as this series was wrapping up, and that is, when would be the next time we would see these characters? Sam Wilson as a new Captain America, and Bucky. What was to happen? We were talking about, well, and the showrunner did drop some hints of maybe a season 2. I think there was an interview in which he was saying that the finale, which we'll be discussing later, has some clues for what a season 2 would look like, and he is correct. There are some, I guess, dangling threads left in the wind. But a movie. A Captain America 4, with Spellman writing it, and Sam Wilson leading it. I think this is outstanding news. To me, this series really sole priority was to kind of unveil who Sam Wilson really is, honestly, as a character, and how it is that he will come as the next Captain America, and to hopefully get people on board. And I think this show kind of did that. Was kind of a home run in most parts, if not all of it. And I think this is perfect. We didn't really think that he would ever get a movie, and I think it's kind of a great story in and of itself, that when we were talking about our initial skepticism of these shows, and to be fair, also people who were kind of excited for these shows, these Disney Plus shows in the very beginning, everybody was saying the same thing out loud, kind of, and that is, oh, they're giving shows to the characters who they will never ever give a movie to. And I don't know. I guess the series has been received so well that isn't kind of a one-stop rule now, is it? We now kind of this kind of a revolving door. We went from, or Anthony Mackie went from the movies to TV, back to the movies. Now he is leading his own film franchise, the Captain America film franchise. That's something special. That's something big. I love this news. I can't wait for that to happen. David, your thoughts of this news?
No, I mean, that kind of gets me excited because although there's little hints at the end of the season, I feel like he might want to do something different for the movies themselves. Because, I mean, they're short and everything. And I'm kind of hoping that he brings some stuff up from the past Captain America movies into his own. Like, for one thing, I would love it. So who was that guy in the computer in the Captain America the Winter Soldier?
Arnim Zola.
Zola, he was supposed to be the villain in Captain America 3, but they changed. But Kevin Feige was like Civil War, and then they changed the whole thing. So, like, I hope they bring that back maybe for a Captain America movie and everything. So, yeah.
That'll be fun.
And, yeah, and I mean, I don't know. I think it might be better for him to kind of make something shorter. Because this show, like, it either needed to be 2 hours or 22 episodes because there was a lot going on.
Yeah, we've been saying that. Like, maybe this needed a little bit more. But yeah, we'll get into those specifics in a bit. I do have to ask, though, and I'm curious to hear what you think about this. And this has not really been discussed all that often, but I'm of the mind that just because this movie is happening doesn't mean that the show we're talking about right now isn't going to get a season 2. Or do you think this is it and then Sam Wilson's future is in Captain America movies?
No, I think we could still get a season 2.
Okay.
I feel like there's still a lot more you can do with Bucky. And so it can be like another Captain America, the Winter Soldier season, but like do something different with Bucky. Because the next one, it's going to be a Captain America movie. I feel like Bucky's still going to be the friend character, the B character in this. So, I don't know.
The thing with Marvel, it's like there's some... Every time we get to like a finale or like the end of one story, there's a lot of setup for different stories, and you're never really sure where those lines or where those are going to be picked back up. Case in point, this episode ended with a couple of setups for different storylines, but we can't be sure that they're all going to be like, oh, this is all set up for the season 2 of Falcon and the Winter Soldier. I mean, it could. No one's saying that that's an impossibility. But by all indications, I would think that all of these setups that happen in this finale are going to be in different projects, whether it be on Disney Plus or in the movies. Mostly Disney Plus, I would imagine. But that's kind of my guess at the moment. But overall, this is great stuff. This is great stuff. And yeah, I'm glad to hear that Marvel was so taken with how Spellman did as the writer, the main writer of this series, that they've basically entrusted him to write the film. That is a very, very big vote of confidence for him. And this kind of just helps me feel reassured in it, because I think Spellman really did give Sam a great voice here. I think he delivered a great story. But not everyone agrees, though. Interesting takes. I'm going to share those at the end of the episode, of this episode. But with that, let's go ahead and give our initial impressions of this, let's call it season finale for at the moment, of Falcon and the Winter Soldier. David, I'll go with you first. What do you think?
I liked it.
I liked it. If you're not aware about what that is, I mean, longtime listeners would know that that is basically the mantra for which Alexis Moreno burst on the scene for the history of this podcast, and Kyle would always just, you know, make fun of her for, not make fun of her, but just tease her a little bit for how she answered it. So, like, there would be this time where, you know, with her hands on her cheeks, and she's like, I liked it. I don't think Alexis ever did that. I think Kyle kind of exaggerated it. But for those who are not aware about what that reference was, now you know. Because I actually believe in explaining references for those who have no idea what the hell we're talking about. So, Peter, excuse me, not David. Better Peter, can you, I think that was never a secret. Better Peter, can you tell me what you liked about this episode?
It was really just Sam, honestly. I love the new suit. I love the way he used the shield, and he had some big moments in the episode that really showed he is Captain America. Hell yeah. I like where we left off with Bucky. Like I said, there's still a lot more to do with him.
A lot, yes.
But I think it's like a really good step for him to just not be that mopey, like scared character. Which, I mean, it was for good reason, obviously. But yeah, it's a good start. I even kind of enjoyed John Walker's ending. We'll get into it. But yeah, I mean, overall, I didn't expect like the actual ending of the whole Flag Smashers and everything. That was kind of unexpected.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I mean, like I said, Sam, he was the takeaway of all this.
Yeah, I enjoyed the finale. I think this is a pretty solid finale, you know, as they're concerned. I think in many respects, kind of comparable to how WandaVision wrapped it up. It was solid. It was overall, I think, a real good job. But there were some things perhaps that were, you know, a little left to be desired as to, you know, how it could have been, I think, great. But that being said, I feel like it was a really good wrap up to kind of, as best as it could, to all of the, you know, the many storylines and many themes that it was kind of juggling throughout the course of this 6-episode run. You know, this left me feeling real pumped. I'll be honest with you. I thought, as far as the finale, it kicked ass. It delivered on kind of the spectacle that you would want, you know? It gave you the action, gave you a lot of action. That's what you were here for. And it also gave you some wonderful moments of character. And so overall, I don't have any qualms with the episode from the perspective of, oh, it was okay, or it was like, oh, well, it was like this or whatever. Like, no, I think it delivered in the moment. I feel like maybe in the days after, and I just rewatched it before, you know, we signed on here, and then also taking in other people's perspectives as to how they've, you know, responded to it and how they've talked about it. There are some interesting areas about it, like, but I also don't necessarily agree with all of the, not even most of the main, like, detractors of the main points of criticism for the episode. I just thought it was a real solid finale, and that's just about it. If anything, I'm still not too sure, though, at the end of it, if this whole episode thing, as far as like the episode count of this particular series, I'm still not sure if I'm of the mind that they should have had more. Because I mean, 6 episodes could have been enough, but at the same,
for sure.
But at the same time, I feel like maybe some of these particular storylines could have just been that little bit better if you had just gone from 6 to 9 episodes.
Mm-hmm.
And from a selfish perspective, I also just want more episodes. I mean, I think they delivered the entertainment value every single week.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I think I'm always going to be left wondering if they just had that little bit more time. Although, when it comes to our main focus here, and that is with Sam, I think it was a slam dunk. I really do. It was all Sam here, and we got to see him in this new suit. We got to see him in action as a new Captain America. And the main, I think, objective of the episode and of the series was to make sure that we, the audience, just bought into it and kind of fell in love with this new version of Captain America. And I think it delivered. I think it more than delivered. And I think in that aspect, it is a success. When it comes to the episode, like, I'm not really crazy about the episode, but here's where I'm at. I like the finale. I like this as a finale to the season, but as an episode by itself, I'm not that crazy about it. I love some moments. There was some great moments in here, but as a whole, I'm like, cool, solid. But it's not like, and I had a feeling this kind of because I think it was the same thing with WandaVision too, right? Like it was.
Yeah.
I like the finale, but I think the big wow episode was the penultimate one, and it kind of may have been with Falcon Winter Soldier as well.
Yeah, same. And as I think with like WandaVision, the best part of the episodes were the character moments.
Yes, easily, yeah. Yeah, because the action, and we'll get into it, like, it was cool. It was fun. I think what was the best part of the action set pieces was how suspenseful they were. I think they did a real good job with drawing out the suspense as far as, like, how certain players came in and how Sam was going to rescue some people. That was just fun to watch. I will say, I think maybe it did go on for a little bit long. Just a little bit long. There was one moment I was really looking forward to this week to see, and we technically did see it, but it felt like how the Oscars handled the In Memoriam this week, where they just kind of skipped it. Not skipped it, but they kind of played it in fast forward. I'm talking about a big moment that we were supposed to be seeing with Bucky here, and it felt just a little bit rushed, and I was just a little bit disappointed with that. And maybe we could have shaved some minutes off of the action for it. And look, I'm not one of these people that is going to like criticize them for having action be the main like showcase in this finale. It's an action heavy TV show. It is a Marvel comic book superhero genre movie, TV show, whatever it is. Like, you need to understand that that's just kind of in the DNA of this particular genre. And the idea that just because they decide to utilize action, that in and of itself is just like, oh, Marvel, you're just throwing more lights up in the air. And it's like, no, I'm not saying that. But that, I guess, where I like fall in the train of thought, wherever that train is, it was good, but it wasn't anything great. Like, I feel like the best action the show had was like episode 3, like episode 2, episode 3. No, I'm sorry, 3, 4, 2, 3, 4. Here we had bigger set pieces. We had like Falcon off in the night line, the helicopter. We did have combat, but it didn't click as well as it did before. I wonder why. Yeah. But that's kind of where I'm a little bit conflicted with the episode, with what happened here. But overall, as far as impressions are concerned, I enjoyed it. I liked it. I thought it was a solid finale. And for the most part, I was satisfied. And I do feel like if we're going to talk about like, because I'm sure that Kyle, Lira, and Alexis Moreno maybe have asked themselves this question, if they have a review of the season as a whole on Fantasy Fair Podcast. This is their plug, by the way. So if you want to go over to the feed and listen to what they have to say, go ahead. But I'm almost sure that this was brought up, and that is how this particular finale compared with how WandaVision handled it. And I think, comparing finales and see how they overall delivered on, the promise that was established in episode 1. I think that's fair. I think there is an added, there's a particular advantage that the finale that Winter Soldier has that WandaVision didn't have, unfortunately. And this is kind of the big thing that I kind of was dinging them for when we were discussing the finale of WandaVision. And that is, I think the show did a much better job of just about every single major player, character, even and especially the antagonists. And there were several antagonists, not all on the same side. And I think I said this last week as well. Did an excellent job of tying them all in thematically with the main theme of the show. Whereas WandaVision, we had issues with, especially Monica Rambeau, and then also with Catherine Hahn's Agatha. I was gonna say Agatha Cromwell, Agatha Harkness. So like I do think that is one particular area in which this finale shined in comparison to WandaVision. But overall, I think those are our impressions. Anything last to say before we dive into the episode as we talk about it scene by scene, David?
Mm-mm.
All right, so let's go ahead. Take it away, David.
So first, I'm just going to hold on to this.
What is... Oh, my goodness. I didn't realize we were in the business of bringing props to the show.
Just getting into...
Yeah, for those who, of course, you can't see what I'm seeing because this is an audio show. David, at the moment, went out of his way to bring his own Captain America shield. Can you explain for us what particular version you're holding up and where you acquired it from?
This is the Falcon and Winter Soldier Marvel Legends shield.
Okay.
Yeah. So I got it. Where did I get it from? No, it was like a Disney shop thing. Okay. My sister sent the link.
Oh, really?
It was for something else, but when I was looking through it, I saw the shield and I was like, and I was hoping not to get it, but then when I saw the price, I was like, oh my gosh, this might be the good quality one.
Is it?
And not it is. Oh my gosh. I mean, I don't know if you can hear it, but
oh boy.
It's not plastic. I mean, it's plastic, but not flimsy or anything. And it's even got the bolts in the back with actual handles and everything. It's really nice. I mean, I just don't know how to hang it on my wall.
You'll find a way. You'll find a way. I'm sure you got space and you can do it. But hey, we're in theme this week. It looks amazing.
Yeah. Oh, it's nice. I love it. Okay. So So the episode starts. The Flag Smashers are taking over the GRC headquarters or whatever. And you see Sam flying in. They're prolonging his debut of the new costume and everything. But on the ground, Bucky is coming in. And I like this little bit, though, where when he walks in and he's passing these soldiers and they go, Sergeant Barnes. And I was kind of oh, that's nice.
That was nice. Yeah, I didn't realize he had that title still,
yeah, same.
But yeah.
And so, I don't know, it's cool. And then we find out that Sam called Sharon Carter. She's with that little mask thing from Captain America: The Winter Soldier. And
Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., don't forget, they remember in season 2, They had that mask.
Yes.
With what's her name? Agent 33?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Where she was stuck looking like Ming-Na Wen for the whole season. That was funny.
Yeah. And so then they, they cut back to the inside the building. The flag smashers throw like a little smoke bomb to get everyone out of the building. And then that's when Sam like flies in. He throws the shield in through the window and just kicks some butt and everything. And then you see the costume.
His big entrance
and everything. And, he has the wings. They're like, the wings are blue and everything. He's got like a bunch of white stripes on his costume. And I mean, it looks pretty nice. To me, it seemed a bit big, like on the shoulders or something. I don't know what it was, but like, it seemed a bit big. I don't know.
I'm not entirely sure how I feel about it. I will say this. When I say that I'm not sure how to feel about it, I'm not at the point where I can say, oh, it's perfect. Oh, I love it. I really, really like it, though. I really like it. And I think it brings a smile on my face to actually see him wearing that and to have a Captain America back in the world. It was a big moment. And, the costume in and of itself, sure, it may have not looked the best on camera. But I think, look, we have to also contend with there may have been some high expectations. Many of us were like, oh, how is this going to compete with the Scarlet Witch's costume? It didn't. And that was kind of a bit of a letdown that some of us imposed on ourselves for even bringing up the comparison, right? So again, for comparison's sake, if this is how you want to grade them, it didn't compare. I'm sorry, Wanda still has the crown in that department.
For sure. Oh my gosh. Like immediately though, I was like, Scarlet Witch is way better. Damn it.
Yeah, that is true. But I think him using the shield was it's just not something you're used to seeing. And it very much felt like he's breaking it in, for his first night out as Captain America. And I mean, I thought he did a pretty good job, all things considered. Yeah,
for sure. And I mean, it's just a bunch of action at this point. There's moments where they're trying to plan, and I mean the plan that they figured out was that they want the people who are gonna make the vote to leave the building, but there's chaos everywhere. They couldn't find the flag smashers in disguise in time and everything. So like the people of the GRC, they got out and were taken hostage, basically.
Again.
I
thought it was funny. It's like they were taken hostage in the first place, and then they got caught again.
But I think they did a cool thing of separating both Bucky and Sam. Some of them got in a bunch of trucks. Some of them got in a helicopter and everything. So that's how you separate them and everything. But the action in this scene, what mostly bothered me was with Sam and the other guy, Batroc. Yeah, I feel like the editing was just a little bit off. Like
something was off, and I couldn't tell what it is. And you're thinking it was the editing. You think the cuts, the cutting was
just
not...
like he just needed to take off like a couple of frames before to make it look like it wasn't so coordinated, but also just make it move a lot faster.
Okay.
And all that. Like, I don't know. Just like the one that stood out to me the most was when Sam threw the shield and Batroc kicked the chair. And like, it's like Sam throws a shield, cut to Batroc kicking it, and then cut to both the chair and the shield colliding. And I was just like, I feel like you could have done that in 2 shots at the very least. Like him kicking it up, and then you see the shield like almost hitting him. But the chair got in the way and everything.
Yeah, I mean, if you're gonna finish your thought. I'm sorry, go ahead.
And then there were just moments where like they're hitting each other, and like it looked like they stayed on their hits or their blocks for just a second, too long. For a little bit too long. Again, they just needed to take off just a couple of frames.
You know, I really couldn't put my finger about what it was myself, but you know, it could have been that, and my mind doesn't usually go to editing unless it's that obvious. But maybe in this case, that's kind of where you know, what needs to be discussed.
I've mostly been noticing it because I've been editing some stuff on my own, so I'm just really noticing.
Right. You're an editor now, so like you have the eyes of that, and it could very well be that, but I think. And unfortunately, it is a trend throughout the episode, but and I thought it was just me, but it seemed to be just a tad bit of a decline in quality in terms of not only how the action sequences are directed, but also how they're choreographed. There was just something that wasn't clicking the same way that it was in all of the previous episodes, and I can't understand as to why the same person directed all of these episodes.
I don't know.
It was fine, but I agree with you. It was kind of oh, okay, it happened, and then we move on to the next thing, which is Bucky talking on the phone with Carly Morgenthau.
Bucky talked to her on the phone. He's trying to like convince her to back down and everything.
And she's trying to convince him to join her side, or what was her play there?
I mean, I think it was just more of a distraction, but I think she knew the right things to say to him because, she was right. Like, you know, you've been fighting for a long time. Don't you ever get tired of fighting on the wrong side or something like that? And I think she was mostly just talking about him being in Hydra or something.
Well, yeah.
But I also like what he was saying. I like that bit of, like, what is it? I've been fighting for something bigger all my life, and I fell twice. But yeah,
he did volunteer for World War II. I mean, we can't forget that.
Yeah,
that's kind of a big thing.
But yeah, it was a distraction. The GRC got taken and everything, and there was just like a little chase. Carter was also there, and her only job was just to take out one guy, which, I mean, she took him out for sure. Oh my god. There was some subtleties I noticed in my rewatch that they were trying to they were building up for Sharon and her thing in this episode. For one, they really did linger, or at least Bucky lingered a little bit on Sharon, that when she walked through the metal detector, it went off. Interestingly enough, it didn't go off with Bucky, and he has a metal arm. You'd think that thing would go off like a siren, but it didn't when he walked through it. But when she walked through it, that's when the metal detector was going off. And then she was like, oops. I thought that was a little bit of an intentional moment there. And then you could just tell by the look on her face, she's just acting all kinds of suspicious. And I thought it was clear from the moment that she arrived on the scene that she was there on her own agenda. Which, by the way, she's sly. She's a good spy. She was from S.H.I.E.L.D. in the CIA, so she's a good spy. And you're right, David. I was wondering, did that guy die? Because it seems he's for sure dead.
Yeah, that's okay.
Actually, I forgot about that part. Where they go to the metal detectors. Why did she say "oops"?
I don't know. I honestly don't know.
Yeah, I just found it weird. I know, they were mentioning, don't let the GRC people get out, or don't let anyone out of the building.
Yeah, I guess it was a joke, a funny moment. I don't know.
It was weird. I don't know. Whatever.
Yeah.
And then
I think the whole thing was there for they needed a moment to kind of give the audience clues as to her big reveal, and they didn't know what to really write in there, and so they just wrote in a half-assed joke. That's kind of what it feels like.
I guess. Well, So then, yeah, like I said, some people of the GRC went to a helicopter, and then that's Sam was able to escape that truck. He tried following it, but dude with the gun, he couldn't really get close or anything like that, and he sent Red Wing to look at the people inside, and I thought it was pretty cool that he made sure to look if there's anyone there who can actually pilot the helicopter.
It was nice to see Red Wing brought back from the dead.
Yeah, we get 2 Red Wings when we find out. I don't know. He only sent out 1, right? In that moment. Okay. And then, okay, I remember now. Bucky, with Bucky's side, he stole a motorcycle and chased after the cars and everything. I can't remember how they got caught. It was they just ended up parking somewhere, but then
they got stuck.
Did they get stuck? Okay,
I think they got stuck somehow. I think Carly was trying to get this big, I think, boulder or something out of the way, and they were trying to diverge because they had, I think, a truck full of the hostages. They had 2 truckfuls of the GRC hostages. And then Bucky shows up, and then shit happens.
Shit happens, yeah. But I like one thing. Carly did, though. It's like, okay, oh shoot, Bucky's here. Give him someone to save. It's as a distraction. I always find that funny with any types of superhero stuff. Is that they go, oh shoot, this person's here. How do I distract them? Hostage, here, throw them off a bridge or something, and then that's a distraction.
It works.
It works
like a charm.
Yeah.
Too bad General Zod didn't have that to fall back on in Man of Steel.
So one thing I forgot to mention, so as the plan was going on, he cuts to Carly, and it's kind of going bad basically because of Bucky and Sam, and her group is asking her, what the fuck do we do? It's
they were kind of panicking, low key. They were looking at her boss, this ain't working. What's plan B?
And then she just decides, we'll just kill them, I guess. If it doesn't work out.
And if we die, we die.
I don't know. That's just weird for me, that line. It's like, if we die, the cause will still go on. And I'm like, but you're super soldiers though. No one else is. It's not gonna last that long.
There's a couple of moments here about this scene. Let's start off with what you were saying. Yeah, I think she was a little too I think she bought into her own star power beyond what it actually was. Because she was convinced that this movement was strong enough that it could go on without her. I don't know. I guess she must have not paid attention in history class, but when a movement loses its face, it kind of dies. It dies with you. You need to be here. Unless she was so convinced that, Sam does maybe indicate this later on, that there could be others like her. There were a lot of people that agreed with her, but in the interim, there are no enforcers. There's no one to lead this movement. Because basically the leadership of this Flag Smashers movement are all super soldiers, and if all you guys die, there is no leader, there is no leadership, there's no infrastructure. The whole thing's done. It kind of farts out. So I don't, kind of like the Oscars did this week. Cannot wait to talk about that on the next episode with Peter, by the way, so stay tuned for that. But that moment, I guess she's at that point where the way I read that sequence is she's kind of going off, or she's off the deep end at that point. Like, she's so convinced that her movement's going to outlive her, and she's no longer concerned about the livelihoods of her fellow brothers and sisters in arms. Like, what would make me laugh was like one of them was like, "What are we gonna do? They're gonna kill us. We're gonna die." And when, as you said, Carly was like, "If we die, then we die." And then she was like, she cut to her face, and I was like, and she was, "Bitch, what did you say?" I mean, she didn't say that, but that was the kind of look on her face.
That's what everyone was thinking.
Literally. And Carly had to say, like, she feels out, like, when she says one world, you know, she's doing that thing where the leaders kind of demand fealty from their enforcers. Kind of like, well, I think the best example of this is Hail Hydra. It's kind of like remember that moment where in the first Avenger, Red Skull has killed some Nazi leadership, and then his Hydra enforcers like do the whole Hail Hydra, and then he looks over to Zola like, "Fuck, what are you doing? Say it." And then Zola was like, "Hail Hydra." That's kind of the thing that villains do. And then here she is when she was like throwing out their one world. Yeah, one world, and then she's waiting for them to respond with one people, which they've done several times. Only this time, they kind of hesitated because they don't really like the idea of dying. And
or
so she had
hostages.
Or yeah, that's true. That's true. They were never really as convinced with the idea as Carly was, but they still went with it because
the rest
they trusted
of the group
Carly.
Never killed anyone. It was all Carly. You know,
That's
when
true.
they blew up the GRC building with the people, like everyone was kind of like, "What the fuck did you do?" and everything.
And not everybody died. Not everybody died. It's like Godzilla. Only 8 people died. From that moment you're talking about.
Yeah, I remember now. It's like 3 people died and like 5 or 8 people injured or something like that.
How? that thing was on fire.
Yeah. But I mean, I feel like this moment though, it's like it's the same. I feel like the one thing that all 3 characters are connected with, Carly, John, and Sam, is that there is pressure within all of them. You know, when Carly first starting out with the Flag Smashers, you know, they were just stealing stuff for the refugees. They were stealing medicine, food, and all that. People were calling them Robin Hood, like that one guy said. Like, that's all it started off with. Like, I'll talk about it later. But, and then with John, you know, he was just like, "Oh my God, I'm Captain America. I got the shield. Oh my God." And so, like, it was just, it seemed like a fun movement, or the right movement for Carly. With Sam, though, like, he didn't want it at all.
Right.
Like, he didn't want that pressure. He didn't want all those stares at him. But, you know, I guess with Sam, though, he needed that pressure because that's kind of what the world needed, and that's
right.
And for him, though, like, his pressure, it was almost, I guess it was almost like a selfish thing to do, to like just not give himself that pressure, I guess. I don't know what I'm trying to say, really. I'm just like spitting out stuff, but I don't know. Maybe I'll figure it out once. Well,
it's like basically the gist of what you were saying is like these 3 characters with Walker and Morgenthau and Wilson, they have a whole bunch of pressure, you know, that's being placed on them with kind of the roles that they're playing on the show. With Sam in particular, I think what you were trying to say is like you can make the argument that on some level Sam was being, you know, a little selfish in, you know, removing himself from that situation. I think when it came down to it, sure, the pressure definitely played a part, and he, as he says, was just not comfortable doing that because he felt like he just wasn't the person to do it. And I would assume part of that is because of the added pressure that would have been placed on him. But at the same time, once he began to realize really what people or what Steve really meant by him picking up the Stars and the Stripes, and once he became, I think, a little bit more aware about what that would mean, because I feel like as the show went on, Sam did become a little bit more ambiguous about as to what that shield represented. Remember, when we began in episode 1, he referred to it as a symbol that maybe perhaps the greatest symbol ever. And then when we got to episode 3, he was saying that he was going to destroy the shield. And so I think if we look at the trajectory of that character, it felt as if he was far more ambiguous and maybe not ambiguous is the word, but he began to really understand certain realizations that weren't really he didn't have at the beginning of it. And it could have just came down to, I know I can't do this, but pressure, I guess. Yeah, someone's got to, yeah. But yeah, I understand what you're saying there. And it's an interesting parallel that we have these different characters as examples of what can happen with that situation. But yeah, I just found that moment hilarious a little bit with the Flag Smashers. Like, yeah, we're going to die. Now, agree with me. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's funny.
Yeah. So I just remembered now. So the way Bucky caught up with them is that the trucks were driving with the GRC people, and it was the Flag Smashers that intercepted it. And when they were trying to get the drivers out, Bucky caught up with them. As they were trying to escape from Bucky,
one thing. I'm sorry. One more thing I wanted to say. I noticed that just on that scene with Carly and the Flag Smashers, I was kind of a little bit surprised because you were right. They were saying like, boss, this thing didn't work. What now? And I'm like, huh, wow, that was easy. It didn't seem that hard to beat them. I'm sorry. Like they were already on the because at the end of the last episode, they had like a parks full of people to help them with the infiltration of the GRC. They brought in the Leaper to help them. Like it felt like they had all this extra muscle to really win the day, and they kind of fell to pieces.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like at that moment, they were gonna go and I guess kill the hostages and surrender, and that would be it.
I don't think they were gonna surrender. They were just gonna, do what they did with Bucky. It's like, okay, it hurt these people, so he can try to save them as a distraction. But then, I think they were gonna do the same with the other ones. It's like, okay, we can't escape. We'll just, try to kill them as we make our escape. Yeah. So like I was saying, as they were trying to get the trucks and everything and fighting off Bucky, John comes in. He's like screaming for Carly, and you see his makeshift shield that he made in the last episode. Yeah. And it's like Carly's trying to be like, hey, come on, just don't join this fight, dude. Like, I'm really sorry about your friend there, but so her exact words was like, I don't want to kill anyone. I only want to kill someone like important or something like that. And John goes just like, the fuck? It's like,
she's basically going like, hey kid, nothing personal.
Yeah, basically. But yeah, and then John, he throws a shield. Carly kicks it, and it just hits the wall. It just falls right on the floor and everything. It's just so funny because people were making jokes of like, John Walker spends hours making a shield, and like 5 minutes later into the fight, it's all broken. And it's basically what happened. But yeah, he's trying to fight him off, and it's just this it was a pretty cool fight with all three of them. Bucky, he's trying to get the people out and everything, and I like that moment where he's using his robot arm to pry open the doors and everything.
Right.
And it was kind of a nice moment as they were all getting off. They were all thanking him and everything. He was just kind of like, yeah, cool. And then what else was happening? So, one thing I noticed, I was kind of wondering like what he was doing, what John was doing with his Medal of Honors in the shield. I thought he was just like melting it and like just putting it in, but no, he actually like put it into the back of the shield, I guess, for inspiration or something. I don't know.
Yeah, that shield didn't last long, right? It was like...
No, I mean, I think, like I said, like it literally lasted like 5 minutes.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Womp womp.
Mm-hmm. But, I mean, this was a really big action sequence, though. Damn, it's long.
That's most of the episode.
It's most of the episode.
It really is, yeah.
Yeah. I just cut to Falcon. So at one point, Falcon he finds out who's a pilot in the helicopter and everything, and he's able to contact her through her phone. And they just come up with the plan of like, okay, this needs to be perfect timing here, but in count down to 5, and I'll like free up the seat. And so she starts counting, and I think it was a cool move. Like he kind of like flips he holds onto the shield on top of his head with both hands, like does like a little flip, throws the shield to break the helicopter door open, and then he just flies in. Basically the same move that he did in the first episode to save the other guy.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And then that lady in the helicopter, she saved the day. I thought that was cool. It's like not all heroes have to be the superheroes, I guess.
Mm-hmm. One little thing I wanted that was a real cool sequence, but a little bit before then, because it was the main helicopter he was chasing, but then like there was some other helicopter that I think was in the way of the Flag Smashers, and then it was about to crash, and then Sam saved them. And one thing that I noticed, interestingly enough, so as Sam saved those two pilots, and then the copter crashed into the ocean, I think. He put him down on the bridge, and then there were like these people that were applauding and cheering on Sam, and that became a little bit of a theme. And that is, as we progressed through the episode, we got to see a lot of just normal New York City inhabitants, just spectators, basically watching what's going on, and then cheering on the good guys. And I can't remember that ever happening in the MCU. It wasn't just this instance. I'm referring to other moments that we'll get to, that felt very reminiscent of something from Sam Raimi's first Spider-Man movie, where like the citizens of New York kind of play somewhat of an inspirational cheerleading role for our main hero. And I really loved that it wasn't just that moment that we're discussing right now, but that it actually continued, because I think it brought a little bit of character out into this show and something different. And yeah, I like that. I wonder like if you noticed that yourself too, that this was, because we got a couple more cuts to just ordinary people just commenting, and I can't at the moment remember that ever happening in the MCU.
Yeah, I don't think so. That's weird. Like I really never noticed that. This might be the first time that the regular citizens of the world are actually just like spectating what's happening and giving comments and all that. That's weird.
I mean, spectating and not also being like spectating and also not running for their lives. There's a difference between like the Battle of New York. I guess there's one.
Yeah.
But they're kind of just running away.
Yeah.
They're not really like standing and like cheering anything on. You know?
And I mean, there's a difference though between like like you said, they're running away, but then there's also like certain people there who are reacting to the action. So like you got those policemen that are like, what was it? The National Guard will be here in like 20 minutes or something. It's like the National Guard. Did they know? Yeah.
Played by Daniel Souza. The actor that played Enver played Daniel Souza in that scene there. It's funny. I think there's enough, like, if you look at all of the different like Marvel movies and TV shows, there's like I think a good like list of actors that have played at least 2 different characters. Mm-hmm. It's hilarious. Mm-hmm.
But yeah, and also I forgot to mention there was that moment where he protects, I guess it was the pilot with his wings and the shield, and it is pretty funny though. The helicopter, was it the whole helicopter, or was it's like propellers that hit him and then bounce off?
I'm not sure.
I think it was just the propellers that like just hit him and then it bounced off. But again, it's a cool use of his wings to like kind of make a protective dome and everything. And so I think so then he saves the day and everything, and then cut back to Bucky and Walker and their fight. And then at one point Carly does get into the truck and basically like kind of drives it over a construction site. And all that to
kill them.
I think also again to distract Walker and everything. Although she was straight up trying to kill them. But then this is where you get like I guess a redemption for John, where he's debating whether to go after Carly or saving the people, and he gets these like little flashback moments of like what was it, Battlestar telling him, you always make the right decision, like and you always make the right decisions under pressure, and he saves I think most of the show disagrees with that, Jamal. Or Lamar, excuse me. Battlestar. But but he saves the people from in the truck, or at least tries to. He's trying to pull it out of the way, but then the other flag smashers try to stop him and everything, and they all fall down, and he's just like, no. He says he's falling and everything.
So what did you make of that moment there with Walker?
I don't know.
You don't know what to make of it? I don't know what to make of either. Okay. All right, you tell me what you think.
Well, it's just weird though, because like the season was trying to lead up that he was just gonna be like this. I mean, at least I thought that the season was gonna lead up to him being like this hard ass soldier. Like he'll just at the end, that's his character, is that he. He'll do anything he can to protect his country, and I mean, killing all kinds of bad guys. So to give him like this heroic moment, I feel like it's more of just a too soon type of thing. I feel like he could have done this like in his own season, whether they do Dark Avengers or what was it, the Thunderbolts and everything. But I think it was just like a little too soon to do that type of arc for him, or give him that type of moment.
Yeah, I'm of a couple minds about that. Let's talk about what you said about it being I don't think it was a heroic moment, if only because it didn't succeed.
That's true.
Like it could have, I think, been a heroic moment if he did manage to like get that truck back up on solid ground where it wouldn't fall, killing all that were inside. But I think it was a redeeming moment for him. Mm-hmm. But that isn't the same thing as redemption. I think redemption comes once you follow the basic lines of a redemption arc. Textbook example, Prince Zuko from Avatar: The Last Airbender. That's kind of the textbook go-to these days of these villain redemption arcs. I don't think that was the intention of it, if only because we know of the future of this character. So perhaps I think this is an area where maybe the editing or the directing kind of failed the moment. I think what they were going for was just another way to get us a little bit thrown off about Walker. And I think it actually may be a bit consistent with him, because it's not as if look, he's still not a hero because he doesn't immediately jump in to save them. He literally takes a minute to think. Like, it's like Larry David, like he's looking over, like, what are weighing over the options, like, do I do this, do I do that? And then he jumped in and saved them. He ultimately made the right decision, but like the decision that he was kind of mulling over in real time was, do I save these passengers or do I kill Carly? And I think it was used to kind of make us ask about who this person is, and it also kind of defy expectations a little bit, because I was expecting him to just like, fuck them, I'm gonna go kill this bitch. And then he didn't do that. So on that area, it does subvert expectations in that aspect. But when I thought about it a little bit more, I felt that perhaps it does speak to more of the anti-hero, I guess you could say that he is, because they did do a lot of work in the beginning of the show to tell us about his exemplary record as a soldier on behalf of the U.S. and a lot of the good things that he did. And this moment, I feel, was kind of intended for us to understand that he hasn't gone over the deep end yet. That there is still some decency in there somewhere, some desire to do good and be good. It just happens to be, for the most part, clouded by his ego. And that's what we've seen time and time and again. And so, like, and we spoke a little bit about this last week when we were kind of happy that this just wasn't a textbook villain. He wasn't like a white supremacist. He wasn't just like an outwardly bad guy. That there were like no redeeming qualities whatsoever, you know? And what, with him being, I guess, this kind of a villain or this kind of an anti-hero, wherever he falls in the spectrum, this is far preferable. Again, we're going to bring back the WandaVision finale and play here. This is far preferable to the hilariously, almost intellectually insulting, cartoonish level of villainy that Hayward was when he just fucking started shooting kids at the finale. So if my choice is between that awful crap that we got with Hayward and this, where I think they're attempting, although not, I think maybe the direction may have not been as clear as it could have been, but they are maybe attempting something different here. But I do agree, though, that this should not, at least I didn't read it as like, oh, all is forgiven, all is well. Sure, maybe like the episode and the direction itself may have doubled down because Sam and Bucky just kind of like, they do acknowledge his presence, but they don't speak. I mean, I don't think realistically we're supposed to walk away with them being like cool. I mean, they don't like each other all that well. But at the same time, I understand people that are saying, wait a minute, we just a couple episodes, this guy executed somebody in cold blood. And then we also have a follow-up sequence with Walker at the end of the episode that kind of just brings those questions up even more. Like, okay, how are we does the show know how we're supposed to feel about this character? Because I feel like that's what people are asking themselves a little bit here. With how Walker is treated here versus like how he was treated a couple of episodes ago. In my eyes, no, not all is forgiven. No, he isn't redeemed. The way I choose to view it, it was just a reminder that he's just not a complete asshole. But it wasn't all that clear. I will give you that.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, I think you can feel whatever you want. You could either like him or not like him and everything. I think what they were definitely trying to do as the episodes went on is that they were trying to make you feel like, okay, this is not Captain America.
Clearly,
like, you know, like that's the one thing. Because
in this moment still wasn't. He still wasn't, because he didn't rush in to save him. He literally stopped dead in his tracks to think about it.
Yeah.
None of the other characters would have thought. They would have just jumped in action.
Whereas with Captain America in Age of Ultron, when Sokovia was rising, they were kind of like, oh, we can just get out of here. Like, there's not much we can do. He's just like, I'm not leaving with everyone still in here.
That's right. They did suggest
Yeah. Yeah. I can't remember who suggested it, but, you know. But Captain America was the one that said, like, I'm not leaving if there's still people here.
Yeah.
And so he was willing to die with the people of Sokovia.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a difference. I mean, and that's the thing I've been seeing a lot of with people reviewing this show is that, I'm seeing like a lot of people going like, Walker did nothing wrong. Walker was right and everything. And I'm like, okay, Jesus Christ. And I mean, I know there's some people who are just like, who like hate the character and just in general and everything, but I do think like the point of what they were trying to do with this character is that they were trying to tell you like, this isn't who Captain America is. You know,
he's everything he's not supposed to be.
Mm-hmm. And so like the point with him killing that guy who that Flag Smasher, you know, it was a bad thing because again, like that dude was down. Yeah, like he was almost begging for his life and everything, and John killed him. Yes, you can say, oh, but you know, he just lost his friend. And he's like super emotional. Like, yeah, okay, fine, but he was still down.
He was like, surrendering. He had his hands up.
Yes, like that's the thing that made it bad. And you know, everyone wants to say like, oh, well, we don't know what Steve would have reacted if he lost Bucky in that moment. Like, how would he react? It's like, I mean, yeah, he probably hurt someone if he lost Bucky or Sam, but he would. I do not think he would kill someone when they're down and have their hands up.
These people, okay. I know I must have said this sometime before, but I'm going to bring it up here. They're saying that John Walker did nothing wrong. I have to think that these are some of the same people that were saying, why didn't Wanda get arrested at the end of WandaVision? Mm-hmm. And by my count, Walker killed more people than Wanda.
Did he? Hmm.
Did she kill anybody? I didn't see her kill anybody.
No, she didn't kill anyone at all. It's just...
Well, Walker killed Nico. The guy he killed with the shield.
Oh, okay, yeah. I didn't know.
I'm just saying, like, Walker killed one person, Wanda killed nobody. Mm-hmm. So Walker killed more people than Wanda, but she's the one that has to atone for what she did. Mm-hmm. And Walker gets to walk away scot-free. And the justification is, oh, Walker had every right to kill that person because an eye for an eye. Like, his people killed one of killed his friend. Mm-hmm. Oh, so I guess that sympathy, you just chose not to extend that sympathy toward Wanda after she lost literally everyone in her life. Okay, just making sure we're on the same terms here.
Yeah. I mean, again, like, she mentally tortured a lot of people and everything, and like I said before, I do expect consequences from that. But the reason why she didn't get arrested is because she escaped. She went away, and the reason why it's okay for me at least, that she went away is because she found out that she's going to destroy the world. So like, it's best to just go isolate yourself and find out more about your power. Like, that makes perfect sense for me.
Yeah, instead of being captured by a bunch of government agencies, when in that same show, they literally tried to resurrect Vision, which they kind of succeeded. No matter how you slice it, this whole idea that Walker did nothing wrong, you're still seeing that? I thought that dissipated.
Nah. Okay. what happened next? What did I leave off of?
With Walker. So the Smashers kind of they intercept him, and then the van starts flying off, only for Sam to arrive, save them, and then the crowd gathers round. Sam reveals himself to Carly, and Carly was like, "You of all people bought into that bullshit," as referring to the uniform that he's wearing, the Captain America uniform with the stars and stripes. And I think there was a moment when he is saving the GRC members in the truck. There was a crowd that was gathering around, and then it cuts to some one individual saying, "That's the Black Falcon," which again we should remind everyone that that's historically that's the name of the character in the comics as it was originally debuted. And then one younger gentleman corrected him, saying, "No, that's Captain America." And for those of you who are wondering, was it cheesy? Yeah. Was that kind of the point? Yeah. Is that bad? Absolutely not. We need more of this. Come on. I don't understand how, like, if it made you laugh, good, okay, sure, but on some level, that's kind of what they were going for. You need to understand that, right? I know some people, when they think of cheesy moments, they categorically rule that as a big like negative. And I, in any show, any movie, I've pushed back against that notion. I think we need a little bit more cheese. I think it's those moments because, I mean, sure, we think of it as cheese because like, okay, that was like a canned line, like a made for movie, made for TV line. Like we all understand like that felt a little like out of place, and people choose to dismiss moments like those as like inferior and having no place, and some even would say that it takes you out of the series entirely. It was funny, but I also just kind of like it was a great like heartfelt moment because it was kind of like, okay, people are accepting Sam as the new Captain America, so it served, I think, a purpose. I kind of smiled because like, wow, the MCU is going for some cheesy moments here, and they've kind of not really delivered on that. They haven't even attempted to do something like that. Like that was something that you would see out of a Raimi Spider-Man movie. I thought I would never see that, and I was happy to see that.
I just remembered that one scene. It's basically that scene where like all of New York kind of tries to help him as the Green Goblin is threatening Mary Jane and like a bunch of people. And like I remember the line, someone going, it's like, "Hey, you mess with one of us, you mess with all of us," and everything. And they start throwing stuff at Green Goblin. Like it's cheesy in a way, but it's fun. And then the other one, it's in Whedon's Justice League. Where
you mean Justice League?
Justice League. I don't like that. I don't know.
I know. It's not as catchy as MCU.
Yeah. But I really do like that line where Superman comes in finally against Steppenwolf, and he's like, "Well, I don't know about truth, but I do believe in something called justice." It's just like, and then he starts beating him up. Like it's just a fun line, but yeah, and I mean, it's just one scene. But yeah, you're right. Cap comes in, stops some of the Flag Smashers, and like you said, Carly talks to him and goes like, "You really bought into that bullshit?" It's like, "Yeah, I'm trying something new. You should try it." But then Batroc comes in, throws some like smoke grenades to the floor, and that's when some of the Flag Smashers get away and everything. And then it's just, you get this kind of long chase where they just couldn't find them underground and everything. But Agent Carter finds Carly, and you get the biggest plot twist in the MCU. She's the power broker.
No, I never would have guessed. Wow. Big shocker.
I know. But I mean, one cool thing, I guess, Carter and Carly were like partners, I guess, when she was coming up in the criminal underworld, I guess. And I thought that was pretty cool. That they were partners and everything, and I guess she might have been in the super soldier serum for like a long time, because she said that she needed so Carter was asking Carly to come back with her, come work with her again and everything, like they could start all over, blah blah blah. But Carly was just like, oh, you just want your muscle back and everything. And so that was kind of like interesting, that she might have been in the super soldier serum for like a long time.
Well, I mean, a couple of things to correct the record on. Mm-hmm. And we weren't fully aware when we were discussing Sharon when she came back on episode 3. We weren't entirely sure as to like whether or not she disappeared in the snap. It turns out she did. I think there was like a photo of her in Avengers Endgame. I think so, yeah. If you go back in the opening sequence and they have all those like pictures of people who disappeared that they knew of, I think she was one of those. So there is that. This has to have like, this couldn't have been long. Like this is only like 6 months after Endgame. So either they had a relation. No, like they didn't really have. I don't think it was a big thing, but I think what was revealed was that Carly went to Madripoor after the blip happened. I want to say that Sharon was already there, since she was on the run and maybe was already living in Madripoor. And Sharon may have used Carly's powers because she was with Dr. Nagel. He gave him the injections, and then maybe she used the Flag Smashers, the Super Soldiers, excuse me. Same thing. But the Super Soldiers to basically put herself on top of the pyramid as the power broker at Madripoor. Mm. And now that they're gone, there could be, she's vulnerable of being toppled by someone else.
But yeah, Carly is the one that calls her the power broker, and Batroc hears the conversation, and he's just like, okay, I want to quadruple our budget, or my payment and everything, and I'll keep your little secret. And she's like, nah, fuck you. And shoots him.
Yeah, basically
shoots him.
I didn't see that coming.
Yeah,
but you know
was
what?
Actually, pretty intense. I liked it.
Wasn't it? I actually was like, you know what? Respect, girl. She was like, I don't do blackmail, and she was like, fuck it, I don't care if I die. I'm about to shoot you. And she did not hesitate. She was like, fuck you.
Yeah, but then that caused Carly to, I guess, freak out a bit, and she shot Sharon right in the stomach. But that's how Sam finds her, and he tries to talk her down, being like, hey, we could just stop this now, like seriously, let's stop. But she's like, nah, it's for the cause, I guess. I don't know, I can't remember exactly what the conversation was, but
well, what Carly had no interest in just being a slumlord, being the power broker. She was interested in far grander things. Sharon does not care about the state of the world, because in her eyes, the world has kind of fucked her over. Yeah. And so she's basically on a mission to fuck it back. And that's all. And she's only looking out for number one. And so she's there, and there was an understanding that Sharon did care about Carly because of their engagement with each other as far as her arrival at Madripoor. But Carly was just not interested in coming back, and so I felt things I thought Sharon was there clearly at that moment to bring Carly back with her or kill her.
Mm-hmm.
And then the shooting happens, and then Sam comes in.
Yeah, and they fight and everything. And I mean, yeah, basically it's just him trying to calm her down. Her being like, "Nah, I'm gonna kill you, fool." And you get some cool moments. There's a lot of flips going on in the fight and everything. One cool moment when he blocks a hit from her with his shield, but he also uses his wings to kind of like give him support and everything. That was pretty interesting. And then you have this moment though where Carly goes, "Stay down," and he gets up, and you know, it could have been a "I can do this all day" moment, but no, instead he just says no. I thought that was funny.
There was one other moment in that instance,
Mm-hmm.
another instance in that moment you're discussing, excuse me, that I found was weird but also kind of accidentally hilarious. So, you know, when he's going toe to toe with Carly, and he's basically trying to talk her down.
Mm-hmm.
There was this, I think it was like I mean, because they do ADR voiceover on top of, you know, the filming they do in these scenes. But there was something really strange how Anthony Mackie worded or I guess like projected one of the lines. So as like Carly is like beating into him, Anthony Mackie goes like, Carly. Like Carly, like
Really?
in a very low voice, like it felt like noticeably low, and kind of if you hear it back, if you look at it back, it kind of made me laugh because like that was a weird edit or something. That was something was weird there because like she's like screaming and yelling at him, and I think like what would have been better was like for like Carly, like for her to like, but I guess he was. I'm not sure I'm doing the best job of describing that moment, but it came off as funny. And I don't think that was the point, to come off as funny. Where he was like, Carly. like Carly, like in a very low voice. Like it's just like, it was weird.
I didn't notice it. I don't know.
I'll play it for you in a minute when we're done here.
Yeah. But yeah. He's trying, you know, they're just trying to stop each other and everything, but Carly was able to pick up a gun, and as she was about to shoot, Carter shoots first and kills Carly. And as Sam is holding her, she just says, "I'm sorry." And I mean, again, I think it's part of the pressure. Like I said, like, you know, before it was just they were just stealing stuff, but she wanted to like move the cause higher and higher, do something better for the world. And in that moment where she dies, it's kind of like her going, maybe I fucked up.
How do you feel how Carly was treated in the end? Do you like her end, or do you think it could have been handled better? Where are you with that? Because there were some people who were critical of how they handled Carly in this episode, but at the top, I can't think of what they could have done better. Because I think like her death ultimately, I think served in a way to cement Sam as Captain America, as we'll see in a couple of scenes. Yes, go ahead.
Well, I mean, I really don't know how her story could have ended. Like, it could have been with her death. It could have. Well,
Zemo was right, basically, huh? Only Sam wasn't going to be the one to pull the trigger.
Yeah, or she could have been arrested, or she could have gotten away and just kind of stick to her how she was in the beginning, with just stealing stuff. I don't know. But yeah, but I mean, I don't mind whatever ending you could have made up with. I would have been fine with it.
Yeah, I don't have really too much of an issue with it. I think that was the place it was going to go, and considering how her death is used to amplify who this Captain America is. I think it served the narrative really well. So there's that.
Yeah.
Speaking of, then Sam carrying.
Well, there's that one bit of Bucky and Walker capturing the rest of the
Oh
flag.
my goodness! I forgot about that completely. That's right.
Yeah,
that's an interesting moment.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, so the flag smashers, they made it out of the building or made it out of underground, whatever they were at. And they made it out because the app told them like, "Hey, rendezvous here." Blah blah blah. And Walker just comes out of nowhere. And he does this quote. I don't know what it was exactly, but it was like, "Mercy is the fruit of whatever." Blah blah blah. But yeah, Walker and Bucky were waiting for them. He I guess hacked into the app or something and was able to trick the other flag smashers. They get arrested, and as Walker and Bucky walk away, he goes, "Lincoln, really?" It's like, "Great man, great quote." It's like, not from you though. Which, I mean, that's actually the only weird part for me with Walker. I didn't mind him saving those people and all that, but the fact that him and Bucky were just kind of playing off from each other, I was kind of like, you guys kind of didn't like each other before. I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's that scene basically.
It's a Marvel moment. That's what they do. It's it works. It's a funny moment.
Mm-hmm.
But we've seen it, a couple of times.
Yeah, for sure. And then as you were saying, they're outside. Sam comes in. He just majestically flies in, lands down, and puts Carly's body in a bed thingy. I don't know what they're called. But yeah, and then you got news people going in. It's when is the government gonna make you the new Captain America? It's do you prefer, what is it, Captain Falcon or something like that? Someone said that. That was
Captain
funny.
Falcon. Yeah. They're asking what's his name now.
Yeah. But he's talking to the senators of the GRC, and he's like, "Are you guys gonna go for the vote?" It's yeah, we still are. The flag smashers just set us back a bit. No, they said the terrorists set us back a bit, and that's when he goes into this really big speech.
Yeah.
But yeah, his speech, basically he starts out with saying, "You gotta stop calling them terrorists." It's you guys just keep using those terms, terrorists, criminals, thugs, and you use it to avoid asking questions.
Yeah.
Okay? It's you want to send people in with guns, drag people out of their new homes and everything, and you just expect that to be okay.
Yeah.
You just expect that to go over well. How would you feel if someone did that to you? You're not gonna like it. It's that's how this whole thing gets started. So you just have to ask yourself, why did this even happen in the first place? But no, you rather say it's terrorists. Who cares?
Yeah, no one has bothered to ask why Carly was even doing any of this in the first place. She was just dismissed as a terrorist.
Mm-hmm.
And these people couldn't, and no one cared enough to understand why she was doing these things. I mean, what the whole point of it was, or why this was even gaining traction in the first place. Mm-hmm. At no point was there any consideration to what any other actions that it could be wrong. And I this was the best moment of the episode, and I think the moment that just completely solidifies Wilson's Captain America. Mm-hmm. And it all kind of is in this basically where Sam is look, I'm a black man in America wearing the stars and stripes. All I have is the belief that we can do better. Mm-hmm. This isn't enough. This isn't right. And this is who Captain America is in the comics. Steve Rogers in the MCU didn't wade into these matters. Maybe he never felt that he could. But with Wilson, somebody who is of this time, and someone whose very identity is kind of enshrined with all of these different issues of that plague the day, as it were, he can speak with a great amount of authority on what it feels like to be an ordinary person, because that's what he used to be. Mm-hmm. And there was just something I felt empowering, to see someone of his significance, an ordinary person who is now the first black Captain America, the next Captain America in this universe, not just an inspiration for those who look like him to aspire to something like that, but more importantly, somebody of his significance, giving it to those people who constantly make decisions on behalf of the masses. And I think it all brought it back down where he said, like, the people whose lives you impact are not there in the room with you when you make those decisions. They never are. And so you never have to look at them. And that does play a big role in how you choose or what choices you make. And so they just look completely stunned that, he was giving a perspective that they seemingly weren't aware of. Mm-hmm. And it was just, it was really empowering because, we live in a time where, Americans in particular are quite disillusioned with their politicians. There is just no faith in the institution, any institutions that matter, in that they are actually acting in the best interest of the masses. And so there is just something so satisfying, empowering to see somebody like that just give them that dressing down that they kind of need, that we wish we could tell them, to kind of air out the grievances and the frustrations that we have within ourselves at our own elected officials. That what you're doing isn't good. It's not enough. We can do better. We can be better. And and again, as we talked about, that's who Captain America is. Just look at the old comic books. Even the ones that are with Steve Rogers as, the old school Captain America. That's what he is. It's not inconsistent. This is not like inserting politics. I hate even addressing that damn argument. But people are going to be like, why are we talking about politics? Watch the show. That's all I'm going to say.
But this does, again, go back to the whole pressure thing, he tells them, like, y'all, you guys are saying all these terms, so it's just to get away from the questions and all that. And this one senator dude, he's literally just called senator, I think, like that in the credits. He goes like, oh, you don't understand, like, all the intricacies, I guess, of, like, their decision making and all that. And he's like, yeah, I don't know. But, and again, he mentions, we finally have a common struggle. For once, all the people who've been begging, and I mean begging, that's what he said, to put yourself in their shoes. And basically, like, he's bringing up, what happened with Thanos, what's been happening here and everything. And like, you finally understand how it feels to be vulnerable like us.
Right.
And so you gotta you gotta focus on that, is that we gotta help bring ourselves up, basically. And you guys have the power to do that for us and for yourselves and just so many other people. And then this goes back to the whole pressure thing. They use the terms terrorist, criminals, thugs, and all that, because they don't. They to kind of go around the questions that they're being asked. They make these quick decisions that, like, they don't really know the consequences for it, because people want answers, people want action, people just want something for their leaders to do. And so they just again, it's pressure. They're being pressured to like make these quick decisions that will affect everyone, but they don't know the consequences of it. And so that's kind of like what Sam is saying here. Is just, hey, like, I understand what you guys are going through. You finally understand what we've been through. So let's make this commonality like work for each other.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Beautiful speech.
Mm-hmm.
Beautiful speech.
Yeah, I love it. And so then afterwards, he goes back to Bucky and he goes, I was texting, so I just lost track after Black Man when with the stars and stripes.
Yeah. One thing real quick. I was glad to see that moment that Sam was yelling at the senators. I love how that was captured on live TV. And so we cut away to his sister Sarah watching it. We cut away to Isaiah watching it. And there was a little moment where, if you notice somewhere in the speech, some of the words he uses about, I'm not, blonde with blue eyes, kind of what Isaiah was saying to him, I think, the last episode. So just wanted to mention that. I love that little bit.
Mm-hmm.
So then we get to Bucky, and as you say that Bucky was like, teasing him basically, and we get a moment that it's just a nice moment, like an acknowledgement, like he's that Sam is Cap now, as Bucky calls him Cap, and he ain't the only one either. After that, and I think that this is the first instance where like we can actually officially call them friends. It's been a long time coming, but they've gone from like from enemies to, I mean, it's honestly kind of interesting whenever I go back and rewatch Winter Soldier, when I see scenes where Sebastian Stan almost kills Anthony Mackie in Winter Soldier, and to think like, oh, just years down the line they're gonna be best friends. That's hilarious.
No, people have been posting pictures of like their first interaction, and it's literally Bucky, like he has this weird like jumping sense that he's about to attack him, and like he jumps on the car, and then you see Sam's face like screaming like, oh my god, and, like that's their first interaction together. It's so funny. And then now they're like best buds.
Yeah.
But yeah, they leave. They meet up with Carter, and they're like, "Oh, you should get that checked out." It's like, and I think it was Bucky that's like, "Yeah, she's not gonna listen to you," or something like that. And I want to bring that up because some people are kind of like, people were complaining that why was Sam carrying Carly down and not Sharon, who was like injured and everything. But it's like this scene kind of explains it, like, oh, she didn't want any help, basically.
She was standing.
Yeah, she was standing.
She was walking.
Yeah,
so she could walk.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's why.
Mm-hmm.
Also, like, I mean, there's kind of a point that he was about to make with Carly, so I think from a direction standpoint, that does work better.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, also she's still a criminal, so if you took her to like a hospital, they'd be like, "Hey, isn't that Carter? She's a criminal, right?" It's like, okay, I'll make sure you arrest her afterwards. So like,
yeah.
But yeah, Bucky and Sharon and Carter leave, and then some random dude, I think, goes up to Sam and it's like, "Hey, that guy that you knocked out of the helicopter is still in the water. Can you get him?" He's like, "Yeah, no problem." And then he cut to this. Honestly, this scene was kind of weird for me, but it was the Flag Smashers getting arrested. They're getting taken to like an armored truck, and as like the doors are about to close, some soldier was he leans in and goes like, one world, one people.
One world, one people.
Yeah. And as they're driving off, and then the car just explodes, and they're all dead. It sucks. But
they're dead.
But the camera like moves back and you see a guy in the car, like you can see he's clearly looking at the explosion, and it's Zemo's butler.
Evil Alfred.
Evil Alfred, yeah. But they like the next scene, they point out what is it? Val is like, wow, Zemo got what he wanted in the end. It's great for him. And what'd you think of that scene?
Let's stop there. What about what threw you off in particular?
It's just the old guy. Like what the fuck? Where did you come from? Like, how did you put the bomb in the car? Like, you yourself.
Okay, what I was confused of was the person that leaned in and said one world, or one people, one world. Was that like a legit flag smasher, or was that the guy who put the bomb in, working for the butler?
I think I was a legit flag smasher, because like, why would you say it if you're gonna put the bomb?
Well, that didn't go the way he thought it would.
Yeah.
One people, one world, and then boom.
Just I don't know if that guy was in the truck, but it's just to show though, like, oh, the movement is still going on, you know?
Sure.
It's gonna be like the next Hydra, I guess, you know? It's like you cut off one head, two more will take its place.
Sure. Yeah. I'm not sure what that meant either. I mean, no, I don't. I guess like it could be that. It could. I think it may call. It also could be read about like maybe it was just used as a way to throw them off. Although for what point, I'm not sure. I don't know. I found it hilarious though, because it blew up and I was like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
And then it was like Evil Alfred. I'm like, that's funny. That's fun. I don't know. That was because like it's the old guy and it's like, oh, so.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it makes sense. Like that was Zemo had an end game all along.
Yeah.
Like, which I mean, yeah, he knew how it was gonna end, one way or the other.
Yeah, and I mean, I do like the fact that he got what he wanted in the end. Like even in prison, like that dude can accomplish whatever he wants. Damn.
Yeah.
It's insane.
That's us. That's interesting. Yeah. And we see him at the raft.
Yeah.
He gets a radio.
That's nice.
How nice.
Yeah.
How nice for him.
Mm.
And then we cut to that was it then. That was the only
that was it. And it cuts straight to Val. And like I said, she says, oh, hey, Zemo got what he wanted in the end.
You got the last laugh.
Yeah. And it's just, I mean, that scene is just there to give Walker his new costume.
Mm-hmm.
And apparently I heard that the actor that
Wyatt Russell.
Yeah, Wyatt Russell. He was a bit disappointed in the new costume because, like he said, it's like, oh, it's the same thing, just black. But honestly, I find that costume better than the blue one, and I find it better than Sam's. Like, I don't know what it is. Like, it looks nice. You know?
Some costumes, they're instantly, I don't know. They work immediately. Some they take a while. I don't know. I thought it was okay.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the same costume. It's just black. But I mean, it fits with what they're going for and everything.
And that's he also got his name, U.S. Agent. And
U.S. Agent, yes.
And it's just like, I think it was just a cool moment between him and his fiance, wife.
One of the two.
Yeah, whatever. But they were just I kind of like that they were both excited. Like, oh my gosh, like you're still gonna help the world or the U.S. and everything. So I think that's cool.
Yeah, not much to say. I guess we'll see him in Thunderbolts or Dark Avengers, or unless they're both a thing. Do you think it's possible that he could pop up in Secret Invasion or something? Because is Val supposed to be like a representative of the U.S. government? Because like if he has the title U.S. agent, does that then not apply that she's working for some kind of like dark governmental agency that's sanctioned somehow?
Maybe. I mean, I hope we get more info on Black Widow with her.
Right. Yeah, she's supposed to be in the movie.
Mm-hmm. But I really have no idea. I don't know. We'll see, I guess. Again, they're just leaving enough for us to like make a whole bunch of speculation, but I'm sure they'll figure it out. The next scene is with Bucky, and he's back to, I guess, where he lives, and he meets the old guy that we see in the first episode.
Yuri,
yeah. Yuri? Yeah.
Yeah.
And he's gonna tell him what happened to his son. Mm-hmm. And I mean, it was pretty emotional in the beginning because, like, you know, it's a scary moment for Bucky to tell him the truth. You don't know how he's gonna react, but it's just kind of, they keep it short, really. Like he tells him that he didn't really have a choice and all that, and then it just cuts to him outside the bar later on, and Yuri sings.
Yeah.
Was that the scene that you were talking about before?
Yeah, this was, I think, the major disappointment of the episode. Mm-hmm. I felt like they were setting up like a big scene. Like what I wanted out of that scene was something of the level of the emotion that we got last episode with Isaiah and with Sam. I felt that this moment deserved that time, and they really just kind of did like, I don't know, like a highlights reel version of it, and then we just move on because there's music playing over it the whole time, and so you know it's not going to last very long. And then Bucky just says what he says, Yuri just reacts, and then that's it.
Yeah.
And I felt that was kind of a cheat. Like, we should have gotten like some major intensity of it. I don't know if you ever watch, like, one of the sequences that comes to mind that's similar to this came from this was the 4th season of The Walking Dead. There was this character Carol, played by Melissa McBride, and there's this long, great sequence where she's confessing to this other character, Tyrese, that she killed his girlfriend. And she killed his girlfriend because she was infected with some illness, and she was worried about it spreading and getting other people sick with it. And it's this long sequence where you just see the actors reacting to this moment. And I wanted something like that with this, and I was very disappointed that it wasn't what I wanted it to be. It wasn't anywhere near as powerful as it should have been. And yeah.
No, yeah. Oh man, you just made me remember that episode of The Walking Dead. That's a great.
That was a good one.
Oh yeah. My gosh, Walking Dead had some great fucking scenes, man. Oh,
they had, yes.
I'm really sad that I stopped watching it.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, but like I remember that, like the guy, he's hearing it, and like, you know, he's kind of holding onto the table. He takes like these deep breaths, like it's like he's trying not to be angry, but also not to cry or something. And then I think he just kind of like walks away in the end.
Yeah.
But fuck, that was fucking great. Oh my god. But yeah, you also get the scene where he leaves a present to his therapist, and it's a book, and you know, he's crossed out all the names of the people on his list. That he's made amends, not avenged.
Yeah.
And you know, some people are kind of like, you know, oh, that's the end of his arc. I'm kind of like, it's more of a new start, basically.
Yeah, it's the end of a chapter, the beginning of a new chapter for him.
Yeah. And then next scene is with Sam meeting Isaiah again. Oh
yeah.
What is it? Oh, it's like it's Isaiah's grandson. He calls him Black Falcon and everything. And then Isaiah comes up from behind, going, "It's not Falcon anymore, but he's still black."
Yeah.
They go to the backyard, and basically, like, Isaiah's kind of like, "All right, I guess you're Captain America. Good fucking luck."
Literally.
Yeah. But and then you get this funny moment though. It's just like, I'll admit though, it's like, you're something special, kid. It's like, yeah, I mean, you're no Mandela or
Malcolm or Martin, you know. And I really do hope people who are listening understand who Isaiah is talking about when he says Martin, Malcolm. Who was the other one?
Mandela.
I hope people know who those people are.
Mm-hmm.
Just please understand that. Because this is a big symbol, a big icon for now the black community in America. A black Captain America, like, whoever would have thought? You know, especially Isaiah of all people. So it was a big moment. Yeah, and he really wins Isaiah over. Like, there was even a moment where he, like, and Carl Lumley is great playing this role. He's a great actor. Where he was like, you could see him, he's really getting emotional, and then he, like, catches himself kind of resisting, like, you almost got me. You almost got me there. But it turns out there was more, as Sam asks him to get ready because he has something to show him. And we then see them at the Smithsonian, I think, exhibit of Captain America. And there is an entire room dedicated to Isaiah Bradley, the story of him. I think it was a bronze statue. And I don't know. I thought with the emotion of it played off real well. When I wasn't sure for a moment when Isaiah was walking toward Sam, if he was gonna hug him or slap him.
Yeah, same. I thought he was just gonna be like, "Boy, I told you to keep me dead." The
Literally,
fuck is this?
yeah. I was not sure how it was gonna go.
Yeah. But I mean, I don't know. For me though, like in the museum, I mean, yeah, I know it says his name, Isaiah Bradley, and everything, but you know, it doesn't. I don't know if the thing necessarily says like if he's still alive or anything. It's just.
I don't think that. Yeah, I think there were issues people had with it, and we'll get to those issues. But as far as the world is concerned, he's dead. That was kind of the important part. That way, he's not like targeted.
Yeah.
By a bunch of different parties, you know, like, so he's safe.
Okay. Yeah, that's what I thought. But yeah, no, it was a great emotional scene. Isaiah was pretty appreciative of it. And I like what Sam said. It's like, now they'll never forget what you did for this country.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, it's great.
That was beautiful. Yeah.
And it was funny, though, because the week before that Mark Bernardin in the Kevin Smith's YouTube channel, he mentioned that scene in Doctor Who with Van Gogh seeing his in the museum. It's just funny though, because my sister two or 3 weeks before this episode comes out, she saw the episode, and then like a week before this they mentioned that episode. And like he said, and Mark Bernard, he says like, "Oh, I love that scene in Doctor Who. I hope we get something like that with Isaiah, but like in a movie or a different show or something."
Well, you got it here.
But you got it here and everything. And so I was just kind of like, "What the fuck?" Like it's crazy just how it led to it for me, at least. It's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, and those who are listening, if you haven't seen that scene or that episode of Doctor Who, I think it's. It features Vincent Van Gogh, however you pronounce it. It's toward the end of season 5 with Matt Smith and Karen Gillen. Karen Gillen, of course, who you all know as Nebula. She plays Amy Pond And that episode features a sequence where Van Gogh is brought back, travels in time. The Doctor picks him up from the past and takes him to present day. That being 2011. And it's crazy because it's going to be 10 years now. So let's not think about that. And Van Gogh, and they go to the gallery and they see all his works. And it's a beautiful, touching, emotional scene. I mean, I know. I can't imagine. I think everyone's first experience with this just absolutely wrecks you.
Mm-hmm.
It wrecks you. And I even reactions, a whole bunch of reaction channels when it comes to this episode. Man, people are just, the waterworks break out.
Mm-hmm.
So if you haven't seen it, go see it.
Yeah, that's great. And then we get to the final scene where I guess they're having like a little party by the river. And
back home.
Yeah, back there. Yeah, they're back home where Sam lives. They're having like a little party and everything. And you know, we're getting like a different side with Bucky. Like he's having fun. He's being like a cool uncle with Sam's nephews and all that. And there's a place there where people are taking pictures with Sam with the new Captain America and everything.
Mm-hmm.
That was funny. And you get this funny moment where a bunch of kids are holding onto Bucky's robot arm. He's just kind of like there, like whatever, hitting on some girls or something. I don't know. Or just talking to them, but it's funny.
And that episode over. And then I think the last shot we see is, I think, Sam and Bucky looking over, like a close up of them, and then it fades to black. And then we have the title card, no longer Falcon and the Winter Soldier, but Captain America and the Winter Soldier.
Mm-hmm.
I love that touch.
Yeah. And some people pointed out, you know, like, why is it still titled Winter Soldier? Like, the whole point of him is he doesn't become the Winter Soldier anymore. And this is what I'm saying, is that his story isn't necessarily done. Also, I don't like the name White Wolf. Like, don't give him that superhero name, please. Like, come up with something new. Oh my god.
You just like the name White Wolf?
It doesn't sound cool. Like a super.
What would you have preferred, White Panther?
No, just like don't use it in general. I don't know.
White Panther, Black Falcon, Jesus.
I don't know. It's just. I don't know. It feels like you're trying really hard to make him sound cool. So it's like that type of name. You know, Captain America. It makes sense because he's representing America, being a captain and all that. Like that makes sense to me. Like White Wolf is something like I'll try to come up with like some character to make him seem cool. It's like he's the White Wolf. He hunts in the night or something. I don't know. But yeah, I love that bit in the very end where it's no longer Falcon and Winter Soldier, but Captain America. And then we get a after credit scene.
First thing, the credit scene notwithstanding. So it ends, and I clocked it. 42 minutes. The average runtime of these 6 episodes have been 42 minutes for those of you who are so concerned about this. And that is the exact same runtime for most shows, most hour-long, quote-unquote hour-long shows that run on broadcast television. They're 42 minutes, but then with like 18 minutes of commercials. And so, just to be clear, because a lot of people want to stress like, oh, they're 6 hours. No, it was 42 minutes. Close to 6 hours, but not quite. So, just wanted to mention that. And then you were talking about a post-credit scene?
Yeah, basically, Carter gets a pardon, and she gets her old job back in the CIA, I guess. And yeah, some people thought, like, when she was walking out of the building, that some people were kind of like, oh my gosh, are they going to show that she's a Skrull or something, or what? But no, she makes a phone call and basically she's like, hey, we're back in business. Or like, business is going to be good. And she's going to steal a bunch of tech plans and sell them to the black market, I guess. So in that scene, at first I thought that could have been like a setup for season 2 of this show. I thought it could have been a setup for season 2, but after thinking about it and finding out, but there's still that one show for War Machine,
Iron Wars, right?
Yeah, something like that.
Iron Wars or Armor Wars.
Armor Wars, yeah. And I remembered that the plot, it's about him stopping a certain tech from getting out, certain like Stark tech from getting out. And so when I found that out, and I remembered Carter's scene, I was like, oh, is she gonna be the villain for Armor Wars then, or what? Yeah, but I mean that's something.
Hey, I mean, are we like? I do like the theory that she could be a Skrull, though.
Yeah.
If only because they're doing Secret Wars. That'd be pretty fun. And I mean, do you think like we'll see characters like Walker and Carter in Secret Invasion, since they technically do work now? Either like legitimately for like spy organizations.
Maybe. I feel like those characters can just stay because like there's the A characters, like right now is Doctor Strange, Captain Marvel, who else? I can't remember. Black Panther. And then there's the B characters like Scarlet Witch and Falcon. And I like what they did with these shows is they kind of like really
elevated them.
They elevated them in the shows, and now they can be part of the A characters.
Yeah,
you can also see that. Now you have C characters, I guess, which is Carter. Honestly, U.S. Agent can be a C character. I really can't see him in the movies. Honestly, like it's just, I think he can just be like a fun side character. Like you can know, like, okay, while all this is going on, this is what's going on somewhere else, and it's U.S. Agent, and it's Carter, and Nick Fury himself. I do see him as a C character. Like I know he's very important in Avengers and bit of Iron Man 2 and everything, but like, you know, he's just kind of there in a way. Yeah. So I think it's kind of cool to just stick with the C characters in like the Marvel and the Disney Plus shows. Yeah. So yeah, and
I mean, like basically, he'll be an A-lister in Secret Invasion.
Yeah, basically. And then I think it would be cool for them to kind of like just keep going around in their own shows or something, and they can leave little comments of like, oh, I did this, whatever. It's like, I remember doing this. It's like, do you remember when this happened? And it's like when they're talking about the events of Doctor Strange 2 or something.
Could be. And is that it?
Yeah, basically.
Final thoughts on the episode.
I mean, like I said, there were some action moments that like needed some work. It was just kind of weird for me. But like, I mean, same thing with WandaVision. The action wasn't really that important for me. It was just that big character moment with Sam becoming Captain America, people accepting him as Captain America, and I like that moment with Bucky finally finishing off his list, and we're finally getting something different from him other than mopey and sad, I guess.
Yeah. No, I had the same concerns as we've been talking about here. It's like solid finale, great moments overall. Kind of, I think, the weakest episode so far of the whole show. I think it's the weakest by a mile. There were issues with, I think, the choreography or the editing or the direction. Just, yeah. And most of it was action, and it was fun, but yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You guys know what we're talking about at this point.
Yeah.
All right. Well, next week we're going to have more on Falcon the Winter Soldier in terms of what the showrunners decide to reveal with the various interviews. We also will discuss some of the recent controversy when it comes to the creator of the Winter Soldier comic character. And yeah, and then at some point, I'm hoping to get Peter's thoughts on the season of Falcon and the Winter Soldier. But now, let's get into the takes of the week. And I've got I've got a doozy here. It's kind of a long one, but kind of encapsulates a lot of the main points that we had talked about. Some interesting points, some points that I really disagree with, but this comes from Alicia Grasso from Screen Rant, who I happen to quite enjoy many of her takes, but this one, I think this is like most of the things that she says here I understand, but don't quite feel the same way. So let's hear what she has to say. And I chose her article because it kind of encapsulated, I think, what many detractors feel for this series. And her article that she unveiled this week was Why Falcon and the Winter Soldier's Finale Failed. It's hard to overstate how little happened for an episode of 52 minutes. The attempted GRC takeover and battle is a whopping 25 minutes of the episode. Sam's speech is another 4. And the credits, minus the brief mid-credits scene, eat up 9 minutes of those 51 minutes. So, well, yeah, that's with all that. In essence, one single battle and follow-up speech takes up 2/3 of the entire episode. That's just poor pacing. For a series that dealt with a number of weighty issues, the finale being reduced to one big punch-em-up fight was an enormous letdown and a regression in terms of storytelling. This kind of touches on some things that we discussed. I do think it would have been worth to sacrifice a little bit of that action to give us more time, especially with Bucky. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I needed a little bit more of that in that sequence. Because a lot of things really just kind of were rushed at the end. But I also do understand we do need to have a battle of some sort. That kind of is unavoidable at the end. Mm-hmm. She continues. One of the most surprising and disappointing elements of the finale was how painfully ham-fisted and on the nose much of the dialogue was. Sam Wilson's speech at the end sounded less like an organic moment and more as if Anthony Mackie would turn to the camera at any minute and say, in case you didn't notice, I'm laying out my manifesto as the Black Captain America, before winking and turning back to the other characters. Likewise, the callback dialogue between two black male characters of, hey, it's Black Falcon, no, that's Captain America, was so absurdly unnecessary and cheesy that more than a few people on social media commented on how it made them laugh aloud. Not the reaction one would want from the audience during what's supposed to be an inspiring and serious moment. Right, this is the part where I have the most issues with here. I didn't think of it as on the nose, I guess. I mean, I guess if that's your perspective of Sam's speech, but I thought it was powerful. When she says, like, oh, like, it was cheesy and it was absurd and like it came off hilarious, that's not what it was going for. I think there's just this divide in terms of how people classify cheese. Like they just see it as categorically a bad thing. And no, I think we need more of that. In fact, that's kind of why I don't want to call Wonder Woman 1984 a bad movie, because it proudly had some cheese in there. that were like, that had some heartfelt moments, and it was going for that. And I think more movies of this genre should go for that and don't. And so, yeah. Any thoughts on this so far?
No, I mean, I'm agreeing with you. I like, I like the cheese. It's fine. And again, it's only like one scene. If like the entire movie was just like one,
not a movie, TV show.
Sorry. Damn it. If the whole show was just like one cheesy superhero trope after the next, then it would have been like, oh god, what the fuck is going on? But yeah, and then with the whole speech thing, I don't know, like I kind of thought I was kind of building up to that, because in the movies, there's that scene in The Winter Soldier where Cap is making a speech to the SHIELD agents and being like, we gotta stand up right now or something. I can't remember his exact speech, but at the end of it, Falcon goes, yeah. So like, did you just make that up on the spot, or like, did you practice? Like, how'd you do that?
Yeah.
But basically, like, Captain America, he's good with speeches, and I kind of like what one person said. At the moment when he gives his speech, it's something that he kind of had to figure out he had all along, like to do that kind of thing. And so, I don't know. I never thought it was forced. When you have a Captain America character, I feel like you're expected to have a bunch of speeches with that character.
Yeah, I agree. She goes on. Before the finale, Falcon and the Winter Soldier tackled complex issues like being black in America and what it means to be a hero or a villain with a morally gray touch and often an ambiguous glance. That approach allowed audiences to debate scenes, think about the messages they sent, and draw their own conclusions. The entire point of the series, through the first 5 episodes, was to underscore that in a post-blip MCU, the line between good guys and bad guys is thin, and the world is no longer so black and white. Thus, the finale delivering Sam's big moment as nothing more than a heavy-handed morality play was jarring. It felt like an episode written for the audience Marvel was worried hadn't quite gotten the first 5 episodes and the issues they explored. Unfortunately, in doing so, it undermined what the series had done to that point. I guess that's fair. I don't agree. The thing that she was saying here is that the speech, he was saying things that were so obvious that the only people who wouldn't have gotten it were the ones that never seemed to pay attention. And so it came off as a disservice to Sam's character.
What do they mean by obvious, though? Like,
I
the
just
message
guess
that he was trying to send?
Yeah, the message, yeah.
Because, I don't know, because like there's a bunch of things that are obvious to do, but it's hard for people to do. Like, it's obvious. If it's like if someone was trying to lose weight, like, obviously, just exercise. But it's not that fucking easy. And so it's like there's things that need time to progress. And so, I don't know. And I don't know. That's just
weird. She says that Carly's character was underwritten, and she said that we never understood her personal motivations. I don't get what she means by that. That was spelled out repeatedly.
Yeah.
I don't know. And then she talks about, yeah?
No, I'm just
and then she talks about Sharon Carter. While it's exciting to know that her character may finally get the interesting writing and screen time she's deserved, Sharon's heel turn never felt fully earned. And especially for a woman who who well knew that she'd be a rogue agent and exiled for doing what she did during the events of Civil War. In the unseen interim, there was an enormous change in Sharon's personality, evidenced by her unceremoniously killing Carly, who was still just a kid, a line Sharon would never would have crossed before. If there was a story that justified Sharon's new ruthless coldness, it's not on the audience. It's not on the audience was privy to her turn to villainy, and it doesn't sit right. Not yet, anyway. Some people have this issue, I've heard about it, about Sharon being a villain now. What do you think?
I mean, it kind of sucks that she's a villain. I would have liked her to kind of like be a part of the team or something.
Yeah.
But I mean, like you pointed out though, like there's a really good reason why she would hate the world after what happened to her.
I don't blame her one bit.
Yeah, I don't.
If anything, it's other people's fault for why she was disillusioned, not hers.
Mm-hmm. So, I don't know. But I mean, we're just going to have to wait for her ending. Because, like, again, I don't mind that she's a villain, but, you know, she can come back from it somehow. Hopefully.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Maybe she somehow gets involved with the Thunderbolts and Secret Dark Avengers. Who knows? Mm-hmm. So there's many possibilities for this could go.
Yeah.
And then she says, in regards to Bucky, after a single unseen conversation with Yuri, in which Bucky finally came clean about having killed Yuri's son when he was a Winter Soldier, Bucky decides he no longer needs therapy, apparently magically cured. The implication that Bucky feels as if, mission accomplished, I don't agree that was the impression that we're left off with Bucky. Just because he gave the therapist a thank you note and everything. What I will agree is, and as I've already said, that unseen conversation should have been seen.
Yeah.
So, there is that. Likewise, after brutally murdering a man in an uncontrolled rage, and then trying to kill Bucky and Sam, John Walker, too, is suddenly restored to being of sound mind after one moment in which he sacrificed vengeance for heroism, while Walker making the decision not to punish the bad guys, but to save the innocent Carr, as innocent as the GRC can be, she stresses, is a big step toward redemption. The fact of his sometimes considerably unstable mental state remains. Neither that nor his very recent transgressions were so much as mentioned in the finale, however. This kind of goes along with what you were bringing up before. David.
Yeah, basically.
I want to be careful with the wording here, like which says here, is a step toward redemption. And I think that's how I feel like, and not that I think he'll get it, but like that moment where he decides to say that it's not redemption itself, it's a step toward it. If he follows through on that, will he do that? We'll see.
Yeah. No, yeah, you're right. Yeah, it's definitely not a redemption. I don't know.
Yeah. But the finale failed. This is an interesting one. There were a lot of people who were pissed, actually. But the finale failed Isaiah Bradley perhaps most of all. Sam's putting Isaiah's story out there for the world to see in the form of a statue and an exhibit without his permission was shockingly insensitive and disrespectful. Considering the last time they talked, the old super soldier reiterated that he'd be killed if his story were told, blindsiding Isaiah with the reveal did not come across as the heartwarming moment it was meant to be, but a complete lack of consent and an out of character for both men. People were really pissed about this.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I don't know about pissed off, but I get if people were kind of like, didn't he say that he didn't want to be?
He made it clear what he wanted, and Sam did not 100% honor that.
Yeah, but I mean, like I said too, chances are the museum says that he's dead and everything. It's not gonna go back to him exactly. People can still think that he died in battle or something. So who knows?
I'm sure that's the story they went with. And then we have Chris Evangelista, who is a reporter / critic for Slash Film. Now, Chris Evangelista, like Alicia before, is someone whose work I actually quite appreciate. In fact, I happen to agree with him on many takes when it comes to other kinds of films. But we just can't seem to ever agree on anything when it comes to Marvel. He especially does not care for Marvel. But when he took to Twitter to say, in terms of reactions, WandaVision felt like this game. Well, actually, this is an actual interesting take on how WandaVision and was received in comparison to this show. And then we're going to have a discussion about this. He says, in terms of reactions, WandaVision felt like this game-changing cultural event, while Falcon and Winter Soldier feels like a half-hearted shrug. The difference is obvious. This is the joke. One of the shows had Catherine Hahn, the other didn't. But the first part, I think it was meant to be serious. And that is, in his view, WandaVision was this big thing, was the big thing, like this cultural moment. And he's saying that Falcon and Winter Soldier was not nearly as big. What's your observation? Do you think the world was more captivated by WandaVision than it was for Falcon and Winter Soldier? Do you think it's the opposite? Do you think it was more on an even playing field? I mean, again, we have to keep in mind a couple of different things. Really, when it comes down to it, we can only ever judge this based on how we felt. There are numbers that are out there, but they're not definitive. There's 5 different places out there that quote unquote cover the ratings for how something did in streaming. Apparently, according to Nielsen, Falcon and Winter Soldier hit number 1 in its first 3 weeks, whereas WandaVision never once did. Again, that's the US chart. If we look at the worldwide numbers, apparently WandaVision, according to Parrot, was the number 1 number 1 show on the planet. So and that's just Parrot and that's just Nielsen. There are other analytics firms out there. So there's no one size fits all for what was bigger. And so you can only ever answer this based on how you feel, David, and how you think it overall went down. Do you think Falcon and Winter Soldier paled in comparison to the attention and buzz and love that WandaVision got? Do you think that's a fair question to ask, or what do you make of all that?
I remember being worried before the show came out, Falcon and Winter Soldier. I was worried that people were gonna compare it to WandaVision, and they did. Some people were like, "Oh, WandaVision's better in terms of comedy and writing."
I was worried that people were going to compare it to WandaVision by saying that it was way better than WandaVision. I was worried that they were going to use Falcon to trash Wanda.
Okay.
That was my concern.
I remember that. But and then I was just mostly worried because WandaVision was so different from anything they've made that when they go to Falcon, they're gonna go oh, it's just the Marvel movie or Marvel show. It's just Marvel. So I don't know. I think it's a fair question to ask. But I mean, like you said though too, it's just really up to you, whichever one you prefer. I do prefer WandaVision over this, but that's mostly because I really like the performance between Elizabeth Olsen and
Paul Bettany.
They were
and Catherine Hahn.
Everyone just they were all giving different types of performances that worked well. Yes, whatever era they were on and everything. So.
Yeah, that does bring an interesting. Let me see here. I guess we can I'll bring this toward the end. I'll wrap it around. Let me just get these other tweets out of the way with. Allegra Frank, or excuse me, it could be Allegra Frank. I'm not sure, from Slate. Where they say, Falcon and Winter Soldier wasn't as groundbreaking as it thought it was. We were promised a show that had something to say. We got iffy fight scenes and empty speeches. The entire show landed with a thud, rudderless and overly long, and ultimately disappointingly forgettable. That's a harsh take. Mm-hmm. But yeah, there's some people who feel this way. And then here's a funny one. Josh Raby from he's a writer-director on Twitter. I mistakenly believed Falcon and the Winter Soldier had 8 episodes. So I spent the whole time in this season finale going, oh boy, these next 2 episodes are going to be nuts. And now my whole vibe is fucked. I think that happened to Alexis once, where she thought that the finale of The Defenders was not the finale. If you can remember that. We were watching Defenders, had like, I think 8 episodes. Mm-hmm. And she watched episode 8. And when the episode 8 was over, she thought there was another episode to go.
I remember that. Wow.
No, you should ask her about that. That was hilarious. But back to what we were saying here about this whole thing about WandaVision, Falcon, Winter Soldier. So you said you prefer WandaVision personally. Mm-hmm. Putting that to the side, when it came to just a question of buzz, of talk, attention, which do you think got more of?
Oh, shoot. I have my mic. Sorry. I think WandaVision. Well, actually, it depends on the kind of buzz you're talking about. Because with WandaVision... Any discussion, any conversation, anything. Yeah, I don't...
Like publicity,
I don't really know. Because, WandaVision, I got a lot of buzz because people were making all these types of theories. They're getting excited because this is a new phase of Marvel and everything. It was just all that. And people enjoyed the ending. Some people were disappointed and all that. But with Falcon and the Winter Soldier, though, it was just kind of like, we're getting some cool action scenes and all that. Like that's what they were excited about. I think they were excited, like, this can really be something new for television and everything. But then you also have people who were hating on it, mostly because of its politics and everything. And so I don't know. It's just
both shows have their haters. Let's be real.
But like I feel like I was seeing a lot more love for WandaVision than I was for Falcon and Winter Soldier. Some people going like, oh my gosh, that scene with Isaiah, or oh my gosh, there's like this certain scene in Falcon and Winter Soldier, like it's powerful, or it's impactful and all that. But I mean, for me at least, I was mostly seeing people who were hating on it because of the politics of the show.
Damn. Mm-hmm. Well, like, I agree with you. I saw a lot more love toward WandaVision, hardly any criticism. And then with Falcon and Winter Soldier, yes, I've seen that too, where I think the people you're talking about are the ones that have a problem with the fact that it has politics at all. That's one group of people. They shouldn't be taken seriously whatsoever, but they're out there and they're making their noise. But then there are critics like, Chris Evangelista and Alicia Grasso, who we just talked about, who have the same issue basically, where it's like they're not going deep enough with the politics. So there was kind of a diversity of criticism when it came to Falcon and Winter Soldier. There are people like there were some people who I actually like I mentioned with Alicia and Chris and a whole bunch of other people, like writers, critics, reporters who I follow, who I agree with on a lot of things, but I don't when it comes to this show, So yeah, it is a little weird. And I don't quite know what to make of that, in any event. And it is surprising to me because, the critics really didn't care for this show whatsoever. They really did love WandaVision a lot more. And I was expecting a lot of headlines that were going to be used that would use Falcon and Winter Soldier to trash Wanda. It was the reverse. Some people used Wanda to trash Falcon and Winter Soldier. I didn't see that coming. Also conspicuously missing, 0 hit pieces against Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. these last 6 weeks. I don't know what happened, but you and I were predicting, and I guess this is wrong. This is a wrong prediction. You and I predicted at the last WandaVision recap that there would be a headline that would say Falcon and Winter Soldier is everything S.H.I.E.L.D. never was, or something like that, and it didn't happen. And so, strange that the hit machine didn't come out in full force with this. But that being said, so now we have Falcon and Winter Soldier. How would you rank now your Marvel shows? I believe your top 3 last time were Daredevil, S.H.I.E.L.D., and WandaVision. In that order, I believe. Let's do top 5. Has it changed now with Falcon and Winter Soldier?
No, not really. It feels like about the same. Daredevil, I feel like it really is the best one, honestly. Yeah, I really liked S.H.I.E.L.D.
But you ranked them specifically, right? Like you said 1, 2, 3, and then 4 and 5. Like I know last time you said your number 1 was Daredevil, your number 2 was S.H.I.E.L.D., your number 3 was WandaVision. I asked you for your top 3 last time. I'm asking you now to update that, but instead of a top 3, a top 5 of all of the Marvel shows. And to be clear, in case you weren't aware, we're not just talking about the Disney Plus shows. We're talking about all of the Marvel shows that are loosely connected to the MCU. That make it clear? Which means the Netflix shows, Marvel Entertainment shows, because I think basically, David, he's seen all of them, so he should know. I'm not asking you to rank all of them, but just like, do you have like your 5 favorite and rank them in order? Or I guess if it's easier, where does Falcon fall for you in that list?
It's definitely in the top 5, I think. The 3 are still the same. Like I said, Daredevil, S.H.I.E.L.D., WandaVision. 4 and 5. Probably number 5. I think Jessica Jones would be number 4, at least for the first season.
Yeah.
The 2 and 3 it just didn't work. But the first season was for sure amazing. And then yeah, I would put Falcon and Winter Soldier as number 5. Luke Cage was fun and everything. But it just, like every Netflix show, there's always that one episode or 1 or 2 episodes that just like really bores you. I feel like it's almost unnecessary.
Yeah. Yeah.
That kind of happens with Luke Cage. So, and then with Falcon and Winter Soldier, like, I mean, Anthony Mackie and Sebastian Stan, like, they're funny. They're great in this. And it's some of the best action I've seen in some of the in all of these shows.
Yeah, no, you're right. I think I have the same 5. So for me, I would put Falcon at number 5. And then at 4, it'd be Jessica Jones. At 3, it would be Daredevil. At 2, it would be WandaVision. And at 1, it would be S.H.I.E.L.D. So that's where we are. So we basically have the same shows, but just in different orders for top 5. I'm really curious to see where Loki is going to land.
Oh, I hope that does take top 5, honestly.
Yeah. And by the way, since we've been doing recaps with Falcon and Winter Soldier and WandaVision and Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., we're going to be doing recaps for Loki when it premieres on June 11th, I believe. So remember to stick back with us, but we're not going to leave you. We're going to have weekly episodes to come. David and I discussed this. We're going to be doing a follow-up episode next week with some Winter Soldier drama, kind of like a recap of how things landed. And then we're going to be talking about Invincible on Amazon Prime, which I'm sure, as many of you have heard, has been getting a lot of attention. And so we're hoping to do a recap of the 8 episodes. I believe the finale is about to air at some point during the week. And so that's something exciting that we are really looking forward to doing. So make sure to stick with us here on Red Spotlight for more content. David, any final thoughts?
No.
All right then. Well, remember, our podcasts drop every Sunday, sometimes on Thursdays. Anywhere you listen to podcasts, Apple, Spotify, YouTube, CastBox, Google, iHeartRadio, and Stitcher. And until next time, stay under the spotlight. Bye-bye.
Bye.